Good morning. It's Thursday, March 25th, and I have to tell you, and this is no bullshit, that this country is really screwed up. We have had 18 people killed in the last week with guns. And you know what the gun industry is preparing for? They're preparing for a surge in sales. And you know why there's going to be a surge in sales? Because every time we have these mass shootings, there's talk of restrictions on guns. And the minute they start talking about restricting guns and changing gun laws, people run out and buy weapons. Now tell me what's wrong with that. If you don't have a gun already, why the hell are you running out to buy a gun just because they're liable to put restrictions on? And I know that the majority of people who have guns, the great majority of people who have guns, are not going to shoot anybody. They do target practice or they do hunting or whatever they do, but they're not going to shoot anybody. And for those people who don't have guns, why are they so afraid that they're not going to be able to get a gun in the future? And maybe many of them should get guns in the future. But it's insane. It's insane in this country that people are going to run out and buy guns because 18 people were killed. And they're afraid there'll be some restrictions. And we all know there should be restrictions. But the NRA and organizations like that are afraid of restrictions because they don't know where the restrictions are going to end up. And their livelihood is based upon all the donations they get from the gun. And believe me when I say there are many more gun organizations than the NRA. You have the National Association for Gun Rights, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and many of them. And they're all living off the misinterpretation of the Second Amendment. But we need federal gun laws. We need gun laws like they created in the state of Connecticut. If you want to buy in the state of Connecticut, you have to go through the great rigmarole. The first thing is you have to apply for a permit, and they investigate you. They investigate you through local law enforcement, and even the FBI is involved in the investigation of these people. And the investigation is extremely thorough. It's not a physical investigation about your eyesight or anything, or whether you have quick reflexes. They go into the mental stability of each particular applicant. And you can't get that gun until that permit is issued. And when you go to the store with your wonderful permit and you present it to the shopkeeper, he doesn't give you a gun. He goes to his computer and he checks that that is a valid gun permit, that it has gone through the entire rigmarole. And that's what we need in this country. We need a monumental rigmarole for people who need to get a gun, who feel they need to get a gun. There's very few people in this country that really need a gun. If you're a hunter, maybe you need a rifle. But do you need that rifle? Yes, if you're a devoted hunter. Otherwise, you don't need a rifle. If you like to go out and target shoot, which can be very, very relaxing and very emotionally uplifting, yeah, you can get a rifle, maybe even a pistol, and go to the range and shoot your ass off. And hopefully you hit only targets. That's okay, as long as you have gone through the rigmarole of getting a permit. And this bullshit about being allowed to buy guns at gun shows is a no-no. We should have an organization that watches what goes on at gun shows. You shouldn't even be allowed to have a gun show without some kind of local permit. But no, Not in the United States, not when we have the misinterpretation of the Second Amendment. Because people believe that a well-regulated militia still needs to exist in some parts of the world, in some parts of this country. And we all know that that's a crock. And you all know that gun politics in American life is a mixed bag. We have two primary opposing ideologies with respect to civilian gun ownership. There are people who are advocating for gun control, who support increasing the regulations related to gun ownership. And then there are people who advocate for gun rights, who support reducing the regulations related to gun ownership. Now, in my mind, there's no point in reducing any of the regulations related to gun ownership. And the problem is not that we can't do it. The problem is it deals with states' rights. So we have 50 different versions out there of what gun ownership really means. And it's the same stupid set of rules as when we go to vote. We have 50 different sets of regulations for people who can vote. So this country is in desperate shape because of the fact that there's 50 different things for everything we do. If you pissed on the sidewalk, in some states you might get away with it. And in other states you could be sent to jail for life. Who the hell knows what the rules would be? States' rights was a wonderful thing when we had 13 states. Now, I am not advocating for national control of everything, but I think in some areas we need to have one policy. The policy can be maintained by the states, but the policy should be the same for every state. That goes for voting. That goes for gun ownership, and it probably goes for several other things that I'm not thinking about right now. So you may think that I'm off the wall here, but if I look at the history of gun ownership, and I see that because of these massive shootings, and because there might be restrictions, I see that the gun manufacturers are going to make all kinds of money off of this, because there's going to be this gigantic surge. I think it's pitiful. I think it is pitiful that we in this country are going to spend money on the backs of 18 dead people who were brutally murdered by some unbalanced individual. And if you don't think that that's a bad sign, if you don't think that there's something wrong with what's going on in this country, right, then I feel sorry for you, because in my mind, you haven't realized how bad things are. And one last thing, why do all these people need guns? So having said all of that, I'll say goodbye, and I'll see you in the morning. Bye.